Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and welcome to this week's episode of The Knife Guy. So what are we talking about today? Before we get started, I think this topic today will heavily depend on your perspective of the knife world and what you have been hunting recently. If you are like me and you're kind of like eyes and ears open to a lot of different things, and you're kind of, if you're, there are a lot of you watching who are just like me. You cover, various corners of social media. You have about 14 or 15 different retailers that you look through daily or hourly sometimes. And you might be hunting for just like the next thing that grabs your attention with a couple of specific things in mind. If you are anywhere near that vicinity, then I think you will find today's topic fairly agreeable. But you don't have to agree. I mean, there's still plenty of reason to argue this. From my perspective, right, earlier this year and basically all of last year, in fact, there was an episode of The Knife Guy, I don't know how long back it was, where I said, there's nothing to buy. And what I meant was all of the interesting stuff right now is just gone. And there's some like evergreen stuff here and there that people who haven't experienced it yet, go ahead and grab it. And, every now and then an interesting sprint or something drops and whatever. But largely it felt like, wow, there is nothing to buy. Over the last few months, I have felt like it was the exact opposite. I've seen a massive restock of a lot of the stuffs that were surprisingly gone for so long, right? Now, still, I'm not saying that like everything is restocked and you can just get whatever you want right now. No, not at all. But I think we have seen more. We've seen production ramp back up. Certain things that we thought were maybe just lost to time were suddenly reappearing at retailers, right? Some days I don't know what to post. Like if you guys watch my community tab, you know that I try to highlight things that I know people will want. Sometimes I'm like, what do I post about, right? The community, I can post 12 different things in the community tab in one day, but it's not going to reach you guys in the same potency than the first one for the day, right? Every 24 hours, it seems like YouTube gives me high potency on one community post. So if I post 3, I'm going to get massively diminishing returns on how many people see it. So I try to be really selective if I'm going to post something on the community tab. Try to be like, hey, is this something that people really, really want or should know about, right? Sometimes I have trouble selecting things, right? It used to be that I was just like, oh, something interesting, please pop up somewhere, right? But now it's like, I don't know what I want to share. On top of that, we are seeing obviously an increase in, I would say, like a lot of like generic things, right? Some companies are pumping out so many interesting designs that it's hard to keep track of. Even here recently, anybody who was a part, and there are people arguing about this in the comment. Listen, you think whatever you want. Let me tell you what's happening here. What happened with the DLT, the no choil 3-inch XM18s, right? If you didn't know, DLT Trading dropped an exclusive batch of no choil 3-inch XM18s. They were available for a solid hour before they sold out. Now, people love to be like, oh, well, here's the reason. It's because the 3-inch isn't as popular, and also because, the general demand for Hinder knives has dropped. Nope. DLT had a crap load of them. They had an enormous amount of them. Anybody who has ever watched what happens with any Hinderer model, I think it's safe to say the 3-inch is more popular than the half track, right? What happens when the half track drops anywhere? Gone immediately. Anybody else who gets 3-inch models, what happens? Gone immediately. Eclipse models, gone immediately. XM18 3.5-inch, gone immediately. Is the XM18 3.5-inch more popular than the 3-inch? Yes. But the reason they lasted for an hour is because they got a crap load of them. They put in a massive order, and Hinderer was able to fulfill it because I'm going to guess that Hinderer's production capacity right now is much better than it was in 2019, 2020, and parts of 2021. It seems to be, again, I mean, I know I'm like laying this out, I'm like, you can't argue with me, right? But as somebody who's got their ear to the ground and is constantly paying attention to every hinder drop ever, right? I can tell you, I have seen the patterns, right? I've seen this type of stuff. They are getting more. People are making more stuff, the stuff that we love, right? And it's lasting longer. I was really happy to see that there were so many people. You guys want to know? I'll tell you right now. You want to know how many people got 3-inch XMs from my links? 56. 56 people who just from my links alone. That means DLT had way more than 56. I am not the only channel, I'm not the only social media presence that was, bringing light to that drop. 56 people, that's a lot, right? Most retailers, they're not getting drops, or in the past, they're not ordering drops that are, they're not putting in orders from Hinder that are that large, and Hinder, it seems like, in the past was not able to fulfill orders of that size, here in the recent years. In any case, I'm not specifically talking about Hinder knives, it's just an example. It was nice to see that so many people were able to get those, because there were so many people who don't even try because they're like, well, it's impossible to get them, right? It'd be cool to see, in contrast, like Demco, they're nowhere near the same size as Hinder knives, right? It's nowhere near this. They can't. It's like I've said many times. Demco cannot make as many AD20s as Rick Hinder can make XM18s, right? No matter how much we scream at the sky, he can't, right? The Taiwan ones, right? Yeah, sure, larger batch, but not the MG 8020s and the custom ones, right? But many companies are doing this, producing more. And we've seen, it was weird to see for a long time. Wasn't it weird to see Para 3s, PM2s, and then eventually the Shaman? out of stock, right? And still, people say the Shaman's still out of stock, right? And even when it's in stock, the price is ridiculously high. Price, right? Price increases, that's another thing, right? That's its own frustrating thing, right? But we're seeing that stuff come back more often. I can't tell you how many times I've seen the Microtech Stitch in stock. Now, it's still, it's not like those are just sitting around waiting for people to buy. But it's really cool to see even the U.S. stuff, like the high-dollar U.S. stuff that people really like. It's cool to see that stuff coming back and being more readily available. On the topic of new designs, after what felt like, and again, this is purely based on perspective. If you don't find any interest in any of the designs that have come out recently, there's no part of you that's like, I'm not interested, right? Then you're not going to agree with this next part. But there have been so many interesting designs come out from so many different companies, and I'm not talking about just the Chinese companies, right? They spit out new designs regardless of the climate around the world, right? They're just doing it. But we're seeing new designs all over the place. Curiously, though, and we've all noticed this, I've seen nowhere near as much from Benchmade and Spyderco specifically. There's some other companies that are similar caliber, right? Spyderco is the most curious. They've released a couple of new things, right? And I'm not counting it's this design, but we made it a lightweight, right? Or we put this steel on it. I don't count those, right? Well, you should count them. Well, I'm not going to. Don't argue with me, imaginary person. Just let me make my point. It seemed like Spyderco was pumping out new designs. Their release catalogs, their quarterly release catalogs had way more interesting stuff. And now not as much. Now, I don't know if this is just the way, the ripple, the multiple ripples after the wave of 2019, 2020, right? I'm going to go, if you want my honest opinion, I'm going to go glass half full. Shocker. Metal Complex is going to see the bright side. I'm going to go glass half full and say Spyderco is, loading up the trebuchets, right? They're cocking everything. They're reloading. I have a feeling that Spyderco is, and I know you could be like, dude, you said this at the beginning of 2022, and so far Spyderco has massively underdelivered versus what you said, right? I don't speak for Spyderco. They're under no obligation to perform the way that I perceive they will, right? All I can do is speculate. But that has to be the answer. They have to be winding up for something. They have to be. I don't know if they had stuff. I mean, let's say I talked to a Spyderco rep and they said, well, listen, we had a bunch of stuff planned for mid to late 2022, and we just, decided that the best move was to wait until 2023, right? And have a really big year. And we thought, in the meantime, we would offer some filler. We threw some new blade steels on some classic stuff. We did, some cool sprint runs, some cool special editions of things that people have been asking for a long time. And, through some lightweight scales, if I didn't say that, right? Some stuff that we could do, keep people kind of entertained, right? Now, not everybody likes that stuff, but you know what? If that was their answer, I would say that's an understandable move. Completely understandable, right? They're a huge company, right? They have specific models that are made in Taiwan, specific models that are made in the United States, specific models that are made in China, Italy, Japan, probably other places. I don't know. I can't remember exactly how far Spyderco's reach is, or how wide, how broad, how many tentacles Spyderco has, how many legs. You can see me trying to form an analogy, and it just took me a really long time to arrive at spider and legs. Sorry, right? But yeah, that's what it feels like for me. It feels like a wind up, right? When it finally does, right? When the ball is pitched and they do hit it, right? How far it goes will obviously depend on how they choose to do their pricing. I am still holding out for an updated Python. And I know good and well if they actually do that, if they actually release a Resenti Spyderco Python, hopefully they will keep it in S90V, do a hollow grind on it, for the love of God. They will fix the detent. And if they do that, it will be a $650 knife. I know. It will be, though. But I'll buy it. I have had more than one person tell me that they have gone to different blade events, right? Different shows. And that they swear up and down that Spyderco has a newer version of the Python with a better detent. I can't confirm that because I've never actually handled it. I also didn't get pictures or videos. I just had a few different people tell me, yeah, it seems like, they do. So I have no idea. I'm hoping for something like that. I'm hoping for some wild, crazy new stuff. I'm hoping for some new, major, potentially flagship USA models, right? I mean, it seems like the last major home runs that Spyderco had for their US line was, the Para 3 and the Shaman. And those came out a long time ago, right? I'm really hoping they got something. I mean, I know they released the compression lock version of the military. Whoop-de-doo. And you know what? That's not fair, right? That's pretty cool. But also, maybe that should have been done years ago, right? I don't understand. It's almost like the company's so big, it's hard for them to go back and update or alter or evolve certain models because they have so many projects that they may or may not be working on. And on top of that, they're fulfilling these dealer orders, the standard ones, the exclusive stuff, right? They're working on sprint runs. They're doing all these different it almost seems like they would benefit from reeling some of that stuff back and putting more effort into potentially, I don't know. It depends on their business model, right? They're going to do what they're going to do to be able to grow. And they're going to know their demographic and their audience, their buying audience, and what people are actually paying. They're going to know that better than me. All I can do is sit here and speculate. But as a consumer, right? As a reviewer and a consumer, I want them to do I want them to do new things. I want to see new, really cool stuff. I want to see the pace, or at least a fraction of the pace that I remember when I was stepping into this, right? And it's not just Spyderco. I'm zeroing in on Spyderco. Again, your perspective might be like, what? Dude, Spyderco's brought out a whole bunch of stuff that I love, right? And that's fine. Differing perspectives. Also want to see it from Benchmade. Now, I've talked a little bit with Benchmade, and I know that they're waiting to release a couple of things. I know that they are. So I'm waiting to see that. Still, there's still a part of my soul, like there's still like the smallest glowing little light in my soul that's holding out for ZT to do something, that's interesting to our corner, right? I have a feeling if I were to say this to any ZT rep, they'd be like, that's just you. We got a lot of happy customers who buy the stuff that we're making right now. And it's just that you don't like it as much because you are stuck in 2012 to 2017. Fair. But it seems like a lot of us, are stuck there and want that, right? Judging just from my little teeny tiny corner of YouTube, it seems like there are a lot of people who still like the style of knives that ZT was putting out a while back, right? Maybe their numbers look different, right? Maybe it's the total opposite and they, I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, whatever the reasons are, there are certain companies who seem to be quiet, a lot quieter than you would expect for a time where everybody else seems to be releasing more and doing more and restocking more. Go around and listen, let's say that the last time you were here, let's say you've been watching, you took a break from me and you've been watching, I don't know, you've been watching something totally different on YouTube. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to get back into pocket knives. And so this, for whatever reason, pops up and you're like, yeah, let's see what the heck he's talking about today, right? Let's say you came back and this is the first time you've been here. I'm your, first entry back into the knife world for 6 months. Go look at any retailer right now. Go look and compare it with what you remember 6 months ago. They're stocked. There's way more there. I would say an average of 30 to 50% more, just from my perspective. And, I literally do scroll through retailers every day. I would say at least 5 to 10 retailers every day just to see. Everybody's way more stocked. There's just more there, right? We got more people in general, like designers from just random corners of the internet, just popping up with cool designs, right? We got more of that stuff. Just to kind of mark this moment in time, we're going to see a massive boom of community designers and knives from the community. Like, we've already seen it. I'm telling you, we've seen nothing. We've seen just like the tide kind of go up a little bit, right? We're going to see a tidal wave of community created designs. That's going to be a huge thing. Way bigger than it currently is, right? You could say it's already big. It's going to be way bigger. That's my prediction. I'm not saying that I'm absolutely correct. I'm just saying it just feels like the rumble before you turn around and see like a city swallowing tidal wave, right? We're going to see way more of that, right? And while it will inevitably churn out more generic stuff, it means, just for the same strategy that you use when you're shooting clay pigeons, right? You're much more likely to hit it with a shotgun blast than a rifle blast, right? So even though that type of thing will churn out more generic, boring, simple stuff that we see, there's much more of an opportunity for someone to strike gold versus it not happening at all, right? So sometimes we need that flood. In any case, I'm excited. I'm excited to see. Once Spyderco finally exhales, because it really feels like it's just like one long like, once they finally exhale and, I just feel like it's like, pull the curtains back. What have you been doing? Show us. I really hope that that's the case. Once they finally do it, It'll be really interesting. In the meantime, it's nice that we have so much to distract us, right? There is a lot right now to distract us. I've gone back to not being able to decide what I want to get when it's time for me to get something. It used to be that I was waiting for extended periods of time or coming up with weird things to do, like creating multiple weird custom shamans, right? Yeah, that was just a few months ago. I'm no longer, now I'm just like, what do I get this or do I get this? I can't afford them both, right? So, wherever you are, whatever your budget is, whatever your, whether you're somebody who buys one knife a year or you buy one knife a month, right? We have more options, it seems like, right now. And it's nice. It's nice to see that seemingly going the right way. I don't know. What are we supposed to get from this episode, Mental Complex? What's the message? I don't know. Whatever. It's just me talking for 20 minutes about what I am perceiving, and then you guys can tell me what you think if you want to. Hello to everybody who's watching me during breakfast. I always like hearing that people like to wake up with a cup of coffee to listen to me ramble. That's always interesting to me. Thanks so much. By the time you guys are watching this, we will have already celebrated 150,000 subscribers. I am recording this on a Thursday, but you guys are watching it on a Sunday, and that means that in my time, the live event is going to take place tomorrow. But in your time, it has already taken place. I assume it went well. I assume it was fun. Thank you to all the people who helped me get here, because this is a literal dream come true. That's going to be pretty much it today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.